Brought to you by Mitch and Lenny. All about fuel plates.
Yes, lots and lots of fuel plates.
I'm going to say there's 12 fuel plates there that are all a little bit different. We have stock, we have a 100 plate, and we've got a little bit of everything in the middle. So we just ran your truck.
Yep.
Stock turbocharger.
Stock turbo, stock 215 pump.
It's got our fuel plate in it.
It's got our fuel plate. It's got our 4K governor springs. And it's 18 degrees of timing.
The truck makes good power.
Yeah.
Actually runs pretty good.
Yeah, it runs pretty good. I was shooting for 350. It made 397.
So
pretty good on stock turbo.
Makes me happy because I feel like I've done enough cam plate grinding and tested enough cam plates. And I always tell people, like, it's one of the least effective things. Like, as long as you have a fuel plate, getting the air fuel ratio is going to be what's key. Mm-hmm. So depending on your motor, your turbo, your cylinder head's efficiency, and the injector size is really critical. Yeah. Air fuel ratio is just going to be what it's going to be. So you're just going to have to take it out and drive it, test it. So today's the first time this truck's ever been on the dyno?
Yep, I've never dynoed this truck before. I've owned it for like 8 years.
How many hours do you think you have into street tuning this truck?
The way it's set up now, I probably have 3 hours into street tuning it because I've got it money where I want it. It starts instantly.
Yep.
It starts like a VE truck, way faster than any other P-pump truck.
Pop, crank, go.
Yeah.
So we have seen that 215 pumps love to have lots of rack travel.
They do. You get that timing advance in it.
Timing advance helps a lot. Mm-hmm. And then the other side of that is if we put too big of an injector in there, horsepower actually drops off.
Yes.
So we've discovered and learned that the smaller we make the injector with as much rack travel as possible, mm-hmm. We do find that we get EGT managed,
yeah,
and that we're making optimum power.
That's it.
So we basically have a TST10 from way back in the day. This is a nice fuel plate. Looks like it was put together very, very well, possibly milled out of one chunk.
Yeah, and that's what I originally pulled out of this pickup.
Out of that pickup, okay. We have a China 10 that I bought off Amazon. I'm afraid that if I drop this, that the fuel plate is actually going to break off of the backing plate.
Yeah.
So I don't want to drop it, but I had Stephanie laser it, and I told her to be really cautious about lasering it because I didn't want her to break this off. And then this thing scares me because if this ever does fall off,
yeah,
it's in your governor section of your injection pump, and injection pump is trash. An old TST 8 plate, and we have a China 8 plate, and the profile looks identical. This Chinese plate doesn't look like it's going to break off, but
no, it looks all right.
It probably will.
The Chinese super glue is going to fall off of it.
A China 100 plate, so the fuel arm comes in and it has just, if the fuel arm is correctly set,
if it even catches
this is very sensitive. That's the width of a piece of paper, and then it turns into a 0 plate. This is the dumbest thing ever because if your aneroid housing works, then it's not going to see any of this anyway. The AFC arm is going to be back. Boost comes in and it's going to strike and it's going to hit the flat part anyway. Yep. So for all practical purposes, this is pretty much a 0 plate. And then I have like the TST version of it as well. It's got a little bit more meat down below.
Oh yeah, that's a little bigger.
Quite a bit more meat.
Yeah.
So this one makes more sense in my mind than this one, but still, neither one of these plates is going to be something you're going to want to drive on the street because as you rev up the motor, the turbocharger runs out of air.
Yep.
The engine efficiency decreases, and you're going to continue pouring the coal to it, and it's just going to get really, really hot. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And the other side of this is there is no way to pull fuel out when you're normally driving. So this plate, these 100 plates, the 100 plates and these 10 plates, chronically, like I've had people complain after we would install these about fuel economy because it spends most of its time with a lot of rack travel.
Yeah.
And with a 10, it starts to pull rack travel out on the very top end to give you back that air efficiency upstairs that you need. But where you're normally driving it, it's the opposite of what like the Cummins fuel plate would be. So Cummins plate comes in and then it pulls fuel out, then it gives you some to kind of get you in the seat, and then it pulls it back to this. This makes a lot of sense. It works really well if you have a big enough size injector, but everybody went straight to fuel plates back in the day, and they would throw these away. But these things did make a lot of sense, and with a big enough injector, you'll make really good power with this plate. We also have a TST 6 and a China 6, and it looks like a really
pretty
close knockoff.
Yeah.
We've got one of our DDP plates that, you know, I monkeyed around with, and I probably, this profile doesn't look a whole lot different, but I probably went through at least 20 of these profiles to finally settle on the one that we ended up using. I like it, obviously, and it must work because
Works pretty good.
your truck just made dang near 400 horsepower.
Yeah.
This one here, I started on just the bench grinder, and then I used the Whizzy wheel, and then I polished it out. This fellow drove away. Truck made good power. This fella came back and said, truck make good power, truck make bad fuel economy. So back in the toolbox she went. Just another TST10, and this plate is probably, well, I'm guessing that this started as maybe a TST10,
Yeah, and it got a little hugged out.
and then I massaged it with the Dremel.
Looks like it.
So we got lots of plates to try. Let's change a fuel plate.
Do it.
Okay, so we're back.
Back, stock plate.
Okay, so we're back.
Back, stock plate.
Stock Cummins fuel plate.
Yep.
All the way forward.
Slid forward.
DDP fuel plate was 397 horsepower.
Correct.
Stock Cummins fuel plate with whatever mystery injector, 1, 2, whatever we got in there, made 79 horsepower less.
Yep, 318 horsepower.
300.
Yep, 318.
horsepower, and we lost 106 foot-pounds of torque.
Yes.
So the horsepower deficit is a big number. Torque number wasn't that big.
Yeah.
EGT is down quite a little bit, but that's because at 400 horsepower, we're really standing on the throat of that little HX35.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So next, we just tried. This was awesome. You'll see the video and B-roll right
It's
now.
funny.
So it wouldn't do anymore or something? Or
That was it. It was out of power.
Oh,
Yeah, it wouldn't make any power to push past the dyno.
I was like,
Yeah,
confused.
oh, I
was
kept
waiting for
feeding.
all the smoke.
Me too.
I wanted to do like all these plates full forward and full backward. So we took the factory fuel plate. I
Yeah.
shoved it all the way back. You stood on the gas pedal. And it was, it spent about 30 seconds not doing anything.
Yeah, like it came up to 2,000, which engages my run, and I just kept feeding it throttle until I was to the floor, and it wouldn't. It had made such little power, it wouldn't overcome the brakes to tell the dyno to go ahead and go.
I stood at the edge monitor watching EGT and boost, and it got to a point where the injection pump couldn't give it anymore.
Yeah.
797 degrees of EGT is all it would make. And I'm like, well, dude, stand on the gas. Dude, stand on the gas. Dude, stand on the gas. And the dyno was like, you ain't making enough power to let you through. So it
Yeah.
So we shut her down, and now we're going to go to lottery.
Yeah,
Let's
template.
use Chinese 10 plate.
Let's do it.
We'll see what we do. We're going to go full forward, then we'll go full backward, Chinese 10 plate next.
Yep.
Okay, guys, China plate
Number 10.
number 10. We got 426 horsepower, full forward. We got 928 foot-pounds of torque. We have 43 pounds of boost. We have 1,744 degrees of EGT. And I wrote blackout because I couldn't see Mitch in the truck. Like, it was way too dark. It was stupid. Now, on top of that, the reason why I really dislike that is it comes in really hard because it's giving it a lot of lever travel at that low RPM. And as it increased, it got so bloody rich that it ends up making less power and less torque on the very big end where it goes stupid hot. The DDP plate just carried out and kept on making power. And it was 400 degrees. It was 1370 versus 1744, 14, 15, 16, 17, 400 degrees colder to the tune of 30 horsepower worth of a deficit.
Yeah.
Then we pulled the China plate back all the way. We got it to make 270 horsepower, 610 foot-pounds of torque, 34 pounds of boost, 1226 degrees of EGT. So we cooled off the EGT. We got rid of a bunch of the smoke. It was still smoke E, but it was a lot better. So next, Morgan, let me walk past you real quick. TST10. So back to back, just to show you guys that not all 10s are created equal. Let's put this one in there and see what it does, because China Amazon 10 versus OG TST10. This thing was made in probably 1999, before most of you. And basically, I just want to see what the difference is between this, because everybody thinks they're buying a 5x12 or a 5x4.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a TST10 or a BD10 or a China 10 or whatever. Let's just see if there's any difference. What do you think?
Let's try it.
All right, let's do it. Well, that was a good test.
Very good test.
So we have
Interesting.
2 number 10 plates.
2 number 10s.
2 number 10s.
Yep.
One from
China.
wherever, and one from either BD or TST products way back in the day.
Yeah, it's a good quality one.
It's a plate that's been in my toolbox for decades. So China 10 made 426 horsepower, 928 foot-pounds of torque.
Yes.
TST 10 or BD 10, whoever's it is, makes 911 foot-pounds, so just 10, 12, 15 foot-pounds.
Yeah.
But the horsepower is actually 3 horsepower better. But the EGT is only 1537 compared to 1744.
Big difference. Still 200 degrees.
Yes,
That's
it
a
is.
lot.
Yes, it is. So with the plates both pulled full back, 270 horsepower with China plate. The other plate is 292 horsepower. The China plate is 610 foot-pounds of torque, and the other plate is 650 foot-pounds of torque, 652. EGT is 1264 versus 1226. So
There's your little horsepower difference right there.
a little bit of horsepower difference, and again, the air-fuel ratio is creating, since we're making a little bit more power, we're actually making a little bit more EGT with the good brand plate,
Right.
but it's still 1260 degrees, so it's not hot at all. Now, I just put in the China plate. I'm actually getting dirty today, guys. Like, this is kind of,
Crazy.
it's
Cool.
wild.
I get to sit in the pickup line.
Yeah, like I'm wearing my master like I got a black shirt. He's sitting in his own truck all clean. So we just put in the China 8 plate. We're gonna make the same run. We'll do it full forward, we'll do it full backward, and be right back with you. Well, we're back.
That was interesting.
That is, because I've always thought that the profile of like the 8 plate kind of makes sense in my head. As long as this plate's been around, which is probably circa 2005, 19 years.
Wow.
I've always told people, look, just buy my plate, it just works. You'll be okay. But proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
Same day, same truck, same everything. Our plate started out at 397 horsepower at 1,372 degrees. This plate, 377 horsepower, 1,527 degrees of EGT.
Yeah.
So these are the numbers that concern me. If you can stand on the gas pedal and make 1370, you're in great shape. You're basically within 20 horse. You're actually 20 horsepower less.
Yes, you're 20 down.
But you're 200 degrees hotter. Eyeball can tell a difference.
Yeah.
Micrometer is a huge difference, but truck definitely can tell a difference.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We just dropped in there a Chinese 6 plate.
Yeah.
So theoretically in number, the lower the number, the more aggressive they were supposed to be, kind of a thing. But the 10 plates smoke and rip pretty hard.
Yeah, right.
So based off of that old methodology, it's kind of a crapshoot at this point. Mm-hmm. So even the old rumors that I was told like aren't really proving to be true. Right. I don't think I've done this many fuel plate tests in one day since 2003, 2004, 2005. Let's make another hit and see what the 6 plate looks like. And then, I'm really getting curious. Like the more that we're doing here, the more I really want to get to the Grand Poobah, the 100 plates.
Oh yeah.
And I want to, at that point, I want to leave the fans on, leave the room because I'm sure it's going to be super smoky.
It's going to be a smoke show.
But I am getting kind of curious to see what's going to happen when we get there.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's actually pretty cool data.
So let's shut this down. Let's make another hit on the 6 plate.
Yeah.
China 6.
China.
I feel better about myself
Every day.
every dyno run.
Yeah.
This 6 plate that we just tested, full forward, 354 horsepower at 1,466 degrees. So we're still 40 horsepower off of the DDP plate, and we're still hotter than the 1,372 degrees. So less power, more EGT. So we need to swap out to the 100 plate.
Yes.
Get ready for all the coal to roll. But other than that, it's probably going to make I bet it makes 425-ish horsepower.
Yeah, it'll make over 400. I would be surprised if it didn't.
It's going to be super hot.
It's going to be hot and it's going to be smoky.
It's going to be super smoky, super hot, super unusable. But it's going to be at the very max of what your little HX35 got.
Oh yeah.
Just because it gains a bunch of EGT doesn't mean that it's going to gain a bunch of power at all. Mm-hmm. Although that's kind of, I've probably told that to people on the phone, like, well, if it's getting hotter, it's probably making more power. But based off of this, I don't think I can say that ever again. I didn't mean to lie to you, unless you're really cute and blonde, and then I probably meant to lie. No, just kidding. But I even got Morgan to laugh. This is awesome. I am winning, crushing it. Give me a minute. We'll change this plate out, and then we'll get to getting on.
Yeah, I'm ready for this 100 plate.
This hashtag smoke show. It's probably going to make power, but it's probably going to be hot AF. And I'm probably not going to be very impressed with, the thing is like it's going to make a number, but trying to drive this thing up the pass towing something, you're going to be like dancing on the gas pedal, so frustrated. And then if you're like me, you're going to lose your patience, and some Ford's going to drive by me, or some Chevy, or some guy with a brand new Dodge, and I'm going to be like, I don't even see a parameter, it's just a number anyway, and then I'm going to melt it.
EGTs are only a number.
Yeah, it's only a number until it turns into a cash number. And then it's a real number. But yeah, hopefully, that's the whole thing. Like 20 years ago, we were so ignorant. We didn't know how to not make EGT. So we just gave it as much power as we could, and then we flirted with death using a pyrometer. Now, I don't even have gauges in my truck. Like, I set it up in here, so I can go out and just beat the truck's kidneys out without worrying about melting the thing down. So I don't put pyrometers in my trucks anymore because by the time it leaves dyno bay, I know it can't get hot unless it blows an intercooler boot off. And if it does that, it's going to be really smoky and not make any power, so I'm going to pull over and fix that anyways. So this part of my life, this whole doing this stuff is behind me. Thank God, because I'm too old to have patience anymore. Like I know that there's more sand in the bottom of the hourglass than there is in the top. So I'm just trying to get there. This was dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you just saw it live, uncut. We didn't do anything yesterday to figure out what we were gonna do.
Yeah.
I didn't know how this was gonna turn out, if our part was gonna look great, average, or horrible.
Right.
Other than the fact that back in the old day, I think I did a bunch of this. So our part doesn't make the most horsepower.
No, it doesn't make horsepower, no.
The part that makes the most horsepower was TST10 made 429 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
Wheat made 397.
Yes.
So we're down 32 horsepower. TST10 made 1744 degrees of EGT. Our plate made 1372 degrees of EGT. So the 32 horsepower loss is also a 372 degree EGT drop. So if we really, really, really wanted that 429 horsepower, number one, we know that the smoke was atrocious at 429.
It was pretty bad.
So the next step in real brain would be add some air and get the 425 horsepower.
Yeah, make up the difference, not in a fuel plate.
Not killing yourself with smoke or EGT. Right?
Exactly.
So that's huge power on a stock HX35.
Oh, yeah.
Then, much to our surprise, we tested a bunch of different plates. Nothing really shined very, very, very well. We did find some more blackouts, but as far as horsepower is concerned, there was nothing that was impressive.
No.
So the 100 plate, so it has a little tiny thin ramp, and then it's basically a zero plate.
Yep, it climbs.
Was 26 horsepower lower than our plate,
Yeah.
and was even hotter than the TST10 plate.
Yep.
So makes the most EGT, definitely makes the most smoke. Hands down, smokiest thing on the planet.
God, yes.
But 429 horsepower, our plate was 397. Butt-o-meter, you wouldn't even be able to tell.
Nope, not at all.
Going up the hill trying to drag something, you'd be able to tell because our plate would crush the other plate.
Yes.
This 371 horsepower, from 429 to 370, you'd probably notice 50 horse. But you still have a bunch of unusable horsepower because you're still at 1750
It's
degrees.
so hot, you can't use it.
I'm kind of relieved that our plate actually did what it was supposed to do. Not that I'm ultra shocked because this wasn't just my first day doing this.
Yeah.
But it's nice to know that after all of the hubbub that you and I read on the internet,
Oh, yeah.
and all the internet engineers telling people how to set up their trucks using proper parts, still prevails. Well, Mitch, you want to put your truck back together
Yeah, you can try something else.
next week?
Yeah.
But I think we'll shut her down and think about what we're going to do to your truck next. And
Yeah, we'll put a game plan together, what we're going to do.
I like it.
Yeah. See you guys.